Hello, it's Pastor Trish, and thank you for joining me for a few moments as we look ahead to one of our lectionary readings for this coming Sunday, July 10th. We will be looking at the story of the Good Samaritan. I'm a little slow getting this Facebook post out this week, and more on that in a moment. But this is the story of the Good Samaritan as found in Luke chapter 10. Just then, a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he said, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And he said to him, what is written in the law? What do you read there? He answered, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, you have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live. But wanting to justify himself, he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And Jesus replied, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. And then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, take care of him, and when I come back I will repay you whatever more you spend. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? He said, the one who showed mercy. Jesus said to him, go and do likewise. This is the gospel of the Lord. I said I'm a little late this week, and it's because we are doing our Sun and Service activities in cooperation with Christ the King and with some of our primarily middle school students here. The week has been consisting of service projects for half a day and then something fun for half a day. We started this on Tuesday, and we will go through Friday. And the devotion that we did yesterday and the conversation that we had is what I wanted to share with you this morning, because the devotion was about this biblical story, and it was started with a different story about some women on a mission trip who saw a young boy who could use some medical care, and they took it upon themselves to find the money to have the medical treatment completed. And the students were asked how many people did they think would be willing to do something like that. And the most optimistic response was that they thought about 60% of the people might help somebody that they saw in need. But most of the students were much more pessimistic. Some said, I would switch that and make it a 40-60. And another young person said, maybe 10%. People just don't do those kinds of things. One of the reasons they used to justify that was this young boy in the story had needed medical care for quite some time, and why did it take so long for somebody to finally notice and do something about it? I always learn things from our young people in terms of how they see the world, and sometimes it makes me helpful and sometimes it makes me sad, to be very honest with you. And that their particular response is probably more of the latter. And so I invite you to consider today how you would have responded if you were in a similar situation to the Good Samaritan. If you were confronted with a situation, a person, a need, where there was a need, would you pass by on the other side of the road, or would you meet that need? It's hard for me to talk a lot about this for fear that I can quickly start to sound judgmental about that. I would share with you my own not just thoughts, but actions. But then I'm afraid that might start to sound, again, judgmental or conceited or something else. And so I'm reluctant to do all of that. But I think that this story never gets old in terms of what it can mean for us and the ways in which it can prod all of us, no matter how we give of ourselves and our time and our possessions, or don't give of ourselves or time or possessions right now. All of us, I think, can learn and be prodded to consider how much we do versus how much we don't do, and how we might want to look at that a little bit differently. And one of the things I will say personally that I have discovered is the more you give, the easier it gets. Um, and the more you give, the more joyful it is to give. And so, for whatever that is worth, I'm pleased to say our young people have been giving of themselves this week. We've done a few different service projects. We've got one more for us before, actually, a couple more this afternoon that we will be doing before we take the day off tomorrow and spend it at Valley Fair. So I invite you to think about how you are or aren't a good Samaritan, how we can be good Samaritans, and also ask you to keep our young people in prayer as they face those same issues in the work that they have been doing this week. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday.